Next we have our loops. So first we're going to go over while loops. So how do they work exactly? So they're very similar to your if statements. Only difference is there's a looping aspect to it. So we'll just say our expression is true. What will happen? It'll just execute whatever is inside here. Execute everything inside the curly brackets. And then it'll loop back up and then check if the expression is true again. If this expression is true, do everything inside the curly brackets, go back up. Is it true? Let's just say it's not. Okay, we're done. That's the whole idea of your while loop. It's if statement with the addition of going back up and checking that expression again. Really, really useful while loops are. While loops are really, really useful. So loop while expression is true. And then another example here is sort of a different pattern to while loops, but pretty much in reverse, is your do while loop. So what you want to do is you want to do something first, and then check if your expression is true. If it's true, we go back up and do everything inside the parentheses again. Or not the parentheses, the curly brackets. And otherwise, if it was false, if the expression is false, we just stop. So loop if expression is true. So we do something first, then we loop if it's true. It's reverse, if you see the pattern there. And next is one of the last concepts here is the for loop. This might be hard to kind of understand after going over what expressions are and what functions are and your if statements, your while statements. The while seems probably a bit easier to beginners than for loops. Essentially, they run a certain amount of times depending on a set length. So for the for loop, you declare a variable some kind. For this example, we're going to do I, because it's typically used a lot in examples and other programs for some reason. And then our set. First, what is a set? This could be one of two things. One, it could be a range of values, or range of, some set values. For now, we're just going to do values to make it easier. Or it could be a list, which we're not going to be going over lists, not in this video at least. But lists technically just have, basically they just have multiple elements inside of them, and what we do is we go through each element one by one. Same for range, we go through each element one by one inside of that whole range of values that we kind of declared. So here's what happens. What happens is we go through this thing with I equal to 0. Let's just say we're going from 0 to 5 in this particular set. Or this is a particular range of values that we're looking for. We're incrementing from 0 to 5, and every single time we go up here, we add I to 1. Like that. So then I is equal to 0, go through here, go back up. Let's increment I to 1, as long as it's not, and after it's equal to 5, or if it goes over 5, then we just stop. So I actually was 1. Then we go back up, we increment it again, it'll be 2, go back up, increment it again, so that's 3, and so on and so forth. You get the idea. Loops over a certain amount of times. So if you're set from 0 to 5, then it'll go from 6 times, because that would include 0 as one of the values. Because it'll be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 6 times. If we're going to go from 1 to 5, then that would be 5 times. So if it goes to 5, then we're done. And then here's another really, really good example with for loops. Let's just do j for an example of this variable name. And let's just do from 0 to 5 again. And let's just say we actually want to count to those. Actually, let's do 1 to change it up. So we want to count it up to from 1 to 5. How do we go about this? Well, instead of do something, we'll just have it set as print. We want to print j. So we're going to do something with our variable, and our variable up here declared in the for loop is j. So j initially will be declared as 1. J equal to 1. So when this for loop starts, it'll print 1, go up back up, increment j to 1. And by the way, I should also mention with your ranges, you can actually increment a certain number of times. It doesn't have to be 1. But for this example, I kind of want to keep it straightforward. So it'll be from 1. You can even do it reverse. You don't have to go from 5 to 1. You go 5. I don't have to go from 1 to 5. You can go to 5 to 1. It's just dependent on your range function that you can use in Python or figure out in other languages because they have it different syntax-wise. So increment to 1, then it'll go to 2. So this whole j will equal 2. And then we want to print our j, which will be 2. So we'll print 1, and then print 2. And then let's go back up again, increment by 1. So j will be now equal to 3. And let's print j, which is 3. Go back up, increment, it's 4 now. Print j is 4. Print 4. And then so on and so forth. That's the whole basic idea of for loops. Really, really useful when you're manipulating with a list and all that, or counting. And yeah, that's the concept of for loops.